Welcome back to the channel, US Rare Coins News, Top 1. Wait, what if I told you a coin that looks like it's barely worth 50 cents, could secretly be worth thousands of dollars, sitting in your pocket right now? It sounds crazy, but this isn't some internet myth, it's real, and it starts with a coin almost everyone has seen before, the 1776 to 1976 Kennedy half dollar. At first glance, it looks completely ordinary, worn edges, dull silver shine, maybe even scratched up from years of use. Nothing about it screams valuable, and that's exactly why so many people ignore it. But here's where things get wild, because hidden among millions of these coins are a few rare versions that collectors are willing to pay serious money for. We're talking hundreds, even thousands of dollars, for something most people overlook every single day. Picture this, a man cleaning out his late grandfather's old drawer, digging through random coins, pennies, nickels, nothing special, until he finds a 1976 Kennedy half dollar, scratched, faded, just like all the others. He almost tosses it aside, but something makes him pause. He notices the shine is slightly different, not as dull, a bit more silvery, almost glowing under the light. That tiny moment of curiosity changed everything. Because that coin wasn't just any half dollar, it was a rare 40% silver version, and after getting it checked, it sold for over $3,000. Now you're probably thinking, okay, so how do I know if I have one? Here's exactly what to look for, and don't skip this, because this is where the hidden money is. First, grab your 1776 to 1976 Kennedy half dollar and look at the edge, not the front, not the back, the edge. If you see a solid silver color with no copper stripe, that's your first big clue. Most common coins have a brownish copper line running through the edge, but the valuable 40% silver ones, they look clean, almost like one solid piece of silver. Next, check the weight if you can. The silver version feels slightly heavier, more solid, like it has real substance in your hand. And here's the part almost nobody knows. Some of these coins were only released in special collector sets, never meant for circulation, which means if one slipped into everyday use, it's incredibly rare. That's why people miss them. They don't look flashy, they don't look special, they hide in plain sight. And the condition, oh, that matters big time. A worn coin might still be worth something, but a clean, sharp, almost uncirculated one, that's where prices explode. Collectors go crazy for those, especially if the details on the coin, like the Independence Hall on the back, are crisp and untouched. Now imagine this, how many coin jars, piggy banks, or old drawers are sitting in homes right now, filled with coins nobody has checked. Coins just like this, waiting to be discovered. And the truth is, most people will never look, they'll spend it, toss it aside, or let it sit forgotten forever. But not you, because now you know exactly what to check. And here's the urgency, these coins are disappearing fast, collectors are hunting them, buying them, pulling them out of circulation every single day. Which means the longer you wait, the harder they become to find. So yeah, it might feel crazy, digging through old coins, checking edges, holding them up to the light. But that boring half dollar could be the one thing that turns spare change into serious cash. And just when you think this is unbelievable, there's actually another Kennedy coin out there, even rarer, even more valuable. One tiny detail makes it worth over $10,000. And almost nobody knows what to look for. Top 2, wait, stop scrolling, because that random 1971 D Kennedy half dollar sitting in your drawer could secretly be worth thousands, yeah, thousands. It sounds impossible, right? A coin that looks worn, dull, maybe even scratched up, something you'd barely glance at, could actually be a hidden jackpot. Most people see the 1971 D and think, just another half dollar, nothing special, no silver, no hype, just pocket change, and that's exactly why this coin slips through people's fingers every single day. But here's the twist, a few rare versions of this exact coin, the same date, same design, have sold for thousands of dollars, and the difference is so small, most people never even notice it. Picture this, a woman in Ohio cleaning out her old kitchen drawer, coins everywhere, pennies, quarters, nothing exciting, until she finds a 1971 D. Kennedy half-dollar. It looks rough, a little faded, she almost throws it into a coin jar. But something catches her eye, the details on Kennedy's hair, they look sharper than usual, almost like the coin never really circulated. That tiny hesitation, that 1 second of curiosity, turned into a massive payday. Because after getting it graded, that ordinary coin came back as a high-grade uncirculated piece, and it sold for over $6,000. Now you're probably thinking, okay, but what do I actually look for? So grab your 1971 D. Kennedy half-dollar right now, seriously, go get it, because this is where things get real. First, check the mint mark. You'll see a small D on the front of the coin, just below Kennedy's neck, that tells you it was minted in Denver. Next, look closely at the surface, tilted under a light. A common coin will look dull, maybe scratched, kind of lifeless. But the valuable ones, they shine differently, almost like a mirror, smooth, clean, with hardly any marks. Now zoom in on Kennedy's hair, this is the part most people miss. If the lines in his hair look crisp, detailed, almost three-dimensional, you might be holding something special. On worn coins, those details are flat, faded, barely visible. But on rare high-grade versions, every strand looks sharp, like it was just struck yesterday. And here's where it gets even crazier, there are error coins out there, tiny minting mistakes, like doubled letters, slight misprints, things you'd never notice unless you're really looking. Those errors can multiply the value instantly. We're talking about coins that sold for hundreds, then thousands, just because of a tiny flaw most people ignore. And here's the scary part, millions of these coins were made, but only a tiny fraction survived in that near-perfect condition. That's what makes them rare, not the coin itself, but the condition, the detail, the tiny differences most people never check. Which means right now, somewhere in a jar, a drawer, a forgotten box, there could be a 1971 D worth serious money, just sitting there, waiting. And the longer it sits, the higher the risk it gets scratched, damaged, or spent without a second thought. Collectors are hunting these, constantly, picking them out of circulation, one by one. So every day, they become harder to find, and more valuable. That's why you can't wait, you need to check your coins now, not tomorrow, not later, now. Because the difference between 50 cents and $5,000 could come down to a single glance. And just when you think this is unbelievable, there's another Kennedy half-dollar out there, from a completely different year, with a hidden error so rare, one sold for over $10,000. And almost nobody knows what to look for. Top 3, wait, don't skip this, because a plain-looking 1986 D. Kennedy half-dollar, the kind most people ignore, could secretly be worth thousands of dollars. Yeah, that same coin sitting in your change jar, scratched, dull, maybe even forgotten for years, could actually be a hidden jackpot, and almost nobody realizes it. Most people see a 1986 D and think, there's no silver here, it's just 50 cents, and they're not wrong, but they're also missing the one detail that can turn this coin into something collectors go crazy for. Because hidden among millions of these coins, are a few ultra-rare versions, coins with near-perfect condition, sharp details, or tiny mint errors, that have sold for shocking prices, we're talking hundreds, even thousands. Picture this, a guy in Texas digging through an old box from his garage, random stuff, tools, receipts, and a small plastic bag of coins, nothing exciting, until he spots a 1986 D. Kennedy half-dollar. It looks normal, worn down, like it's been sitting there forever, he almost tosses it aside, but something about the shine catches his eye. It's not flashy, but it's cleaner than the others, smoother, almost like it hasn't been touched much. That 1 second of curiosity changed everything. Because that coin, after being graded, came back as a high mint state piece, and it sold for over $4,000. Now you're probably thinking, How is that even possible? Here's where it gets real, and you need to check your coins right now. Grab your 1986 D Kennedy half dollar, and look closely at the front. Right below Kennedy's neck, you'll see a tiny D, that's your Denver Mint mark. Now tilt the coin under a light, slowly. A common coin will look flat, dull, full of tiny scratches. But a valuable one, it reflects light almost like a mirror, smooth, clean, almost glowing. Next, focus on Kennedy's hair, this is where the magic happens. On most coins, the hair looks soft, faded, like the details melted together. But on rare high-grade coins, every strand is sharp, crisp, you can actually see depth, like the design is popping out at you. Now flip the coin over, look at the eagle. Check the feathers, the wings, the lines. If they look bold, detailed, untouched, you might be holding something special. And here's something most people completely miss. There are error versions of this coin, tiny mint mistakes, like doubled letters, off-center strikes, or slight design shifts. They're hard to spot, but when you find one, the value can skyrocket instantly. And here's the crazy part, millions of these coins were made, but almost all of them were used, spent, scratched, worn down over time. Only a tiny number survived in that near-perfect condition collectors want. That's what makes them rare, not the year, not the design, but the condition, the detail, the tiny things most people never check. Which means right now, somewhere in your house, a coin jar, a drawer, a forgotten box, there could be a 1986 D worth serious money, just waiting to be noticed. And every day you don't check, the risk goes up. Because these coins get damaged, lost, or spent without a second thought. Meanwhile, collectors are hunting them, pulling them out of circulation, one by one. So yeah, it might feel crazy, grabbing a coin and studying it under a light. But that one coin, that one tiny detail, could be the difference between 50 cents and $4,000. And just when you think this is unbelievable, there's another Kennedy half dollar out there, with a rare error so extreme, so unusual, one sold for over $10,000. And almost nobody knows what to look for. Top 4, wait, are you seriously telling me a worn-out 1983 D Kennedy half dollar, the kind most people wouldn't even pick up, could be worth thousands of dollars? Yeah, it sounds insane, but this is one of those coins that hides its value so well, people spend it without even thinking twice. At first glance, it's nothing special, a dull silver tone, maybe a few scratches. Kennedy's face a little faded, it looks like it's been sitting in a drawer for years. And that's exactly why it gets ignored. Because unlike older coins, there's no silver content here, nothing obvious, nothing flashy, just a regular half dollar, or at least, that's what it wants you to think. But here's where things get crazy. Some 1983 D Kennedy half dollars, especially ones in near-perfect condition, or with rare mint errors, have sold for shocking amounts, we're talking hundreds, even thousands of dollars. Now picture this, a retired guy in Florida going through a jar of loose change, something he hadn't touched in years. He's not expecting anything, just passing time, coin after coin, nothing interesting. Until he spots a 1983 D. It looks cleaner than the rest, not shiny, but different, like it somehow escaped all the wear. He almost shrugs it off, but decides to take a closer look. That tiny decision changed everything. Because that coin, after being professionally graded, came back as a high mint state piece, and it sold for over $5,000. Now think about that for a second. $5,000, from a coin most people would ignore. So here's the part you can't miss, because this is exactly how you check yours. Grab your 1983 D Kennedy half dollar right now, don't wait. First, look for the small D mint mark on the front, just below Kennedy's neck. That confirms it's from Denver. Now tilt the coin under a bright light, slowly. If it looks dull, scratched, kind of lifeless, it's probably just a regular circulated coin. But if the surface looks smooth, almost glowing, with light bouncing off it cleanly, you might have something special. Next, zoom in on Kennedy's hair. This is where most people miss the value. On common coins, the hair details look flat, blended together, almost worn away. But on rare high-grade coins, every strand stands out, sharp, crisp, like it was just minted. Now flip it over, check the eagle on the back. Look at the feathers, the wings, the tiny lines. If they're bold, detailed, untouched, that's a huge sign. And here's something even more exciting. There are error versions of this coin, tiny minting mistakes, like doubled letters, off-center strikes, or slight design shifts. They're incredibly easy to miss, but when spotted, they can send the value skyrocketing. And here's the truth most people don't realize. The 1983D wasn't saved in large numbers, not like some other coins. People didn't think it was special, so they used it, spent it, wore it down. Which means finding one today in near perfect condition is way harder than you'd expect. That's what creates the rarity. Not the coin itself, but how few survived in collectible shape. So right now, somewhere in your home, a jar, a drawer, maybe even your wallet, there could be a 1983D worth serious money. Just sitting there, completely unnoticed. And every single day, people spend these coins without checking. Collectors are hunting them, pulling them out of circulation, one by one. Which means time is not on your side. So yeah, it might feel strange, examining a coin under a light. But that one moment, that one closer look, could turn 50 cents into $5,000. And just when you think this is unbelievable, there's another Kennedy $50 out there, even rarer, with a hidden detail so valuable, one sold for over $10,000. And almost nobody knows where to find it. Top 5, wait, are you telling me a beat-up 1967 Kennedy $50, the kind people toss into a coin jar without thinking, could actually be worth thousands of dollars? It sounds unreal, like one of those stories you scroll past, but this one hits different, because the 1967 $50 is hiding something most people completely overlook. At first glance, it's nothing special, dull shine, worn edges, maybe a few scratches from decades of use. Kennedy's face looks soft, almost faded. It feels ordinary, forgettable, like just another coin from the past. But here's where things flip. Because the 1967 Kennedy $50 isn't just any coin, it's made with 40% silver, and that alone already makes it more valuable than most coins you'll ever find in circulation. But wait, that's not even the crazy part. Some of these coins, depending on condition, shine, and tiny details, have sold for hundreds, even thousands of dollars. Now picture this, a college student in Illinois, broke, cleaning out his car for spare change. He finds a handful of coins under the seat, mostly pennies and quarters, nothing exciting. Then he spots a 1967 $50, scratched, a little dirty. He almost ignores it, but something about the color catches his eye. It's not like the newer coins, it looks softer, more silver, almost like it glows slightly under the light. That moment of curiosity changed everything. Because after getting it checked, it turned out to be a high-grade silver piece, barely circulated. And when he sold it, it brought in over $2,500. From a coin he almost left under his car seat. Now imagine how many people have coins like that, sitting in jars, drawers, forgotten boxes. So here's exactly what you need to do, right now. Grab any 1967 Kennedy $50 you can find. First, look at the edge of the coin. This is the easiest way to spot something valuable. If you see a solid silver edge, no brown or copper stripe, that's your first big sign. Because unlike modern coins, this one actually contains real silver. Now hold it under a light, tilt it slowly. A common worn coin will look dull, kind of lifeless. But a higher quality one, it reflects light smoothly, almost like a soft glow. On most coins, the details are flat, blended together from years of wear. But on valuable ones, the hair strands are sharp, defined, almost three-dimensional. You can actually see the texture. Now flip it over, check the eagle. Look at the feathers, the wings, the tiny lines. If they're bold, crisp, not worn down, that's a huge clue. And here's something most people never even think about. There are error coins from 1967, tiny minting mistakes, like doubled lettering, misaligned strikes, subtle differences you'd only notice if you're really looking. Those errors can push the value even higher. And here's why this coin is so special. 1967 was part of a short period when coins still had silver, but people didn't fully realize their future value. So they spent them, used them, wore them down. Which means finding one today in near perfect condition is way rarer than you'd expect. That's what makes collectors pay big money. Not just the silver, but the condition, the detail, the survival of something most people didn't protect. So right now, think about it. How many places could a coin like this be hiding? An old piggy bank, a kitchen drawer, a forgotten box in the attic. And every single day, people spend these coins without checking. They pass them along like they're nothing. Meanwhile, collectors are hunting them, grabbing them, locking them away. Which means the window to find one is closing, fast. So yeah, it might feel crazy, checking coins like this. But that one coin, that one small discovery, could turn 50 cents into thousands. And just when you think this is unbelievable, there's another Kennedy half-dollar out there, from a different year, with a rare error so valuable, one sold for over $10,000. And almost nobody knows the one detail that makes it so valuable. Top 6, wait, hold on, are you telling me a plain 1973 Kennedy half-dollar, the kind people ignore every day, could actually be worth thousands of dollars? Yeah, it sounds unbelievable, because nothing about this coin screams rare. It looks ordinary, worn, maybe even a little dull, like it's been sitting in a drawer for years. Most people don't even think twice about it. They see 1973, no silver, no hype, just 50 cents, and they move on. But that's exactly why this coin is so dangerous, because the real value is hiding in tiny details almost nobody checks. Because here's the truth, while millions of 1973 Kennedy half-dollars were made, only a tiny number exist in the kind of condition collectors are willing to pay serious money for. And when you add rare mint errors into the mix, things get crazy fast. Picture this, a guy in Pennsylvania rolling coins for the bank, just trying to cash in some spare change. He's halfway through a stack of half-dollars, bored, not expecting anything. Then he notices one coin, a 1973. At first, nothing special, but when he tilts it under the light, it flashes differently, smoother, cleaner. He pauses, looks closer. That 1 second, changed everything. Because that coin, after grading, came back as a near-perfect mint state piece, and it sold for over $7,000. $7,000, from a coin he almost handed to the bank. Now think about that, how many people have done the same thing? So here's exactly what you need to check, right now. Grab your 1973 Kennedy half-dollar, don't wait. First, look at the front, right below Kennedy's neck. If there's no mint mark, that means it's from Philadelphia. If you see a small D, it's from Denver. Both can be valuable, but condition is everything. Now tilt the coin under a bright light, slowly. A common coin will look flat, dull, full of tiny scratches. But a valuable one, it shines, almost like glass, with a smooth, reflective surface. Next, focus on Kennedy's hair, this is where the hidden money lies. On most coins, the hair looks soft, blended, worn down. But on rare high-grade coins, every strand is sharp, crisp, almost popping out at you. You'll see depth, texture, detail that most coins lost decades ago. Now flip it over, look at the eagle. Check the feathers, the wings, the tiny lines. If they're bold, clean, untouched, you might be holding something special. And here's the part almost nobody knows. Some 1973 coins have mint errors, tiny mistakes like doubled lettering, slight misalignments, or unusual strikes. They're easy to miss, but when you spot one, the value can jump instantly. And here's why this matters. In 1973, people weren't saving these coins, they were spending them, using them every day. Which means most of them got worn down, scratched, damaged over time. So finding one today in near perfect condition is way rarer than people think. That's what collectors are paying for. Not just the coin, but the survival of something that should have been worn out long ago. And here's the scary part. Right now, there could be a 1973 Kennedy half-dollar sitting in your house, a coin jar, a drawer, maybe even your pocket. Completely unnoticed. And every day, people spend these coins without checking. They hand over something potentially worth thousands, for just 50 cents. Meanwhile, collectors are hunting them, pulling them out of circulation, one by one. Which means every day you wait, your chances drop. So yeah, it might feel crazy, checking a coin this closely. But that one moment, that one careful look, could turn spare change into serious money. And just when you think this is unbelievable, there's another Kennedy half-dollar out there, with a rare detail so valuable, one sold for over $10,000. And almost nobody knows where to look for it. Top 7. Wait, are you seriously telling me a 1998 Kennedy half-dollar, a coin most people don't even bother picking up, could actually be worth thousands of dollars? It sounds ridiculous, because when you look at it, there's nothing special, no silver, no old date, just a modern coin that looks like it belongs in loose change. It's usually scratched, a little dull, maybe sitting in a drawer or coin jar for years, completely ignored. And that's exactly why this coin is so dangerous, because the real value is hiding in details almost nobody checks. Because here's the truth, while millions of 1998 P. Kennedy half-dollars were made, only a tiny number survived in near-perfect condition, and an even smaller number have rare mint errors. And those are the coins collectors are willing to pay serious money for. Picture this, a guy in Michigan counting coins from an old piggy bank, just trying to roll them up for the bank. He's halfway through, bored, not expecting anything. Then he spots a 1998 half-dollar. It looks normal at first, but when he tilts it under the light, it flashes, cleaner, smoother, almost mirror-like. He pauses, looks closer. That 1 second changed everything. Because that coin, after grading, came back as a high mint state piece, and it sold for over $3,800. From a coin he almost cashed in for 50 cents. Now think about that, how many people have done the same thing without even realizing it? So here's exactly what you need to do, and you should check right now. Grab your 1998 Kennedy half-dollar, especially if it has NO mint mark. First, look at the front, right below Kennedy's neck. If there's no D, no S, nothing at all, that means it's from Philadelphia. Now tilt it slowly under a bright light. A normal coin will look dull, scratched, kind of lifeless. But a valuable one, it reflects light smoothly, almost like glass, clean, shiny, with very few marks. Next, focus on Kennedy's hair. This is where most people completely miss the value. On common coins, the hair looks flat, blended, worn down. But on rare high-grade coins, every strand is sharp, crisp, almost three-dimensional. You can actually see depth and detail. Now flip the coin over, look at the eagle. Check the feathers, the wings, the tiny lines. If they look bold, detailed, untouched, you might be holding something special. And here's the part almost nobody talks about. There are error versions of the 1998p, tiny minting mistakes, like doubled lettering, off-center strikes, or slight misalignments. They're incredibly hard to spot, but when you find one, the value can jump instantly. And here's why this coin gets missed so often. By 1998, half dollars weren't really used in daily transactions anymore. So people didn't pay attention to them, they didn't save them carefully either. Most got scratched, handled, or left sitting around. Which means finding one today in near perfect condition is much rarer than it seems. That's what collectors are paying for. Not just the coin, but the fact that it survived almost untouched. So right now, somewhere in your home, a drawer, a jar, a forgotten box, there could be a 1998p worth serious money. Just sitting there, completely unnoticed. And every single day, people spend these coins without checking. They trade something potentially worth thousands, for just 50 cents. Meanwhile, collectors are hunting them, pulling them out of circulation, one by one. Which means every day you wait, your chances get smaller. So yeah, it might feel crazy, checking a coin this closely. But that one careful look, could turn spare change into a huge payday. And just when you think this is unbelievable, there's another Kennedy half-dollar out there, with a rare detail so valuable, one sold for over $10,000. And almost nobody knows the one tiny feature that makes it worth that much. Top 8, wait, are you telling me a 1973D Kennedy half-dollar, a coin most people wouldn't even bend down to pick up, could actually be worth thousands of dollars? It sounds fake, like something you'd scroll past and forget, but this is one of those coins that hides its value so well, people spend it every day without even thinking. Look at it, really look, dull silver tone, maybe a few scratches. Kennedy's face a little worn, nothing about it screams, rare. And that's exactly why it slips through the cracks. Because the 1973D isn't valuable for what it is at first glance, it's valuable for what it could be. Hidden among millions of these coins, are a few extremely rare examples, coins with near-perfect condition, razor-sharp detail, or tiny mint errors, that collectors will pay serious money for. We're talking hundreds, even thousands of dollars, for something most people overlook. Picture this, a man in Arizona cleaning out an old coffee can filled with coins, something his father had kept for years. He's not expecting anything, just sorting through memories. Then he finds a 1973D half-dollar. It looks like the others, worn, average. He almost moves on, but something about the way it reflects light catches him. It's smoother, cleaner, almost glowing compared to the rest. That tiny moment, that pause, changed everything. Because that coin, after being graded, came back as a high mint state piece, and it sold for over $6,500. From a coin he almost ignored. Now think about that, how many people have done the same thing, missed something valuable without even realizing it. So here's exactly what you need to do, right now. Grab your 1973D Kennedy half-dollar, don't wait. First, check the front, right below Kennedy's neck. You should see a small D, that tells you it was minted in Denver. Now tilt the coin under a bright light, slowly. A common coin will look dull, lifeless, full of tiny scratches. But a valuable one, it reflects light smoothly, almost like a mirror, clean, bright, with very few marks. Next, zoom in on Kennedy's hair. This is where most people miss the hidden value. On worn coins, the hair looks flat, blended together. But on rare high-grade coins, every strand is sharp, crisp, almost three-dimensional. You can see depth, detail, like the coin was just minted. Now flip it over, look at the eagle. Check the feathers, the wings, the tiny lines. If they look bold, untouched, and highly detailed, that's a huge sign. And here's something almost nobody talks about. There are error versions of the 1973D, tiny minting mistakes, like doubled lettering, slight misalignments, or unusual strikes. They're incredibly hard to spot, but when you find one, the value can skyrocket instantly. And here's why this coin is more special than people think. Back in 1973, nobody was saving these coins carefully. They were used, spent, tossed around. Which means most of them got worn down over time. So finding one today in near perfect condition is way rarer than it sounds. That's what collectors are paying for. Not just the coin, but the fact that it survived, almost untouched. So right now, somewhere in your house, a jar, a drawer, maybe even your pocket, there could be a 1973 D worth serious money. Just sitting there, completely unnoticed. And every single day, people spend these coins without checking. They trade something potentially worth thousands, for just 50 cents. Meanwhile, collectors are hunting them, pulling them out of circulation, one by one. Which means every day you wait, your chances get smaller. So yeah, it might feel crazy, checking coins this closely. But that one careful look, could turn spare change into a massive discovery. And just when you think this is unbelievable, there's another Kennedy $50 out there, with a rare detail so valuable, one sold for over $10,000. And almost nobody knows the one tiny feature that makes it worth that much. Top 9, wait, are you seriously telling me a 1972 D Kennedy $50, a coin that looks completely ordinary, could actually be worth thousands of dollars? Yeah. I know how that sounds, because when you first see it, there's nothing special about it at all, dull silver tone, a few scratches. Kennedy's face worn down from years of passing hands. It looks like pocket change, the kind you ignore, the kind you spend without a second thought. And that's exactly why this coin is so dangerous, because its value is hiding in plain sight. The 1972 D Kennedy $50 was mass-produced in Denver, millions of them, dumped into circulation, and most people never cared enough to look twice. But here's the twist, not all of them are equal. Some of these coins, especially high-grade ones, or rare mint-era versions, have sold for shocking amounts, hundreds, even thousands of dollars. Now picture this, a man in Ohio going through his grandfather's old toolbox, dusty, forgotten, filled with random screws, receipts, and a small pile of coins. He's not expecting anything valuable, just cleaning up. Because after getting it graded, that ordinary coin came back as a high mint state example, and it sold for over $5,800. From a coin he almost tossed back into a junk drawer. Now think about that, how many coins like this are sitting in homes right now, completely ignored. So here's exactly what you need to do, and you need to check this immediately. Grab your 1972 D Kennedy $50, don't wait. First, look at the front, right below Kennedy's neck. You'll see a small D, that means it was minted in Denver. Now tilt it under a bright light, slowly. A common coin will look dull, scratched, lifeless. But a valuable one, it reflects light smoothly, almost like a mirror, clean, bright, and sharp. Next, focus on Kennedy's hair. This is where most people completely miss the value. On worn coins, the hair looks flat, soft, almost melted together. But on rare high-grade coins, every strand is crisp, detailed, almost popping off the surface. You can actually see depth in the design. Now flip it over, look at the eagle. Check the feathers, the wings, the fine lines. If they look bold, sharp, and untouched, that's a major sign. And here's something even more important. There are known error versions of the 1972 D, tiny mint mistakes, like doubled lettering, off-center strikes, or unusual design shifts. They're not obvious, most people would never notice them. But collectors will pay huge money for them, because they are rare. And here's why this coin gets missed so easily. In the 1970s, $50 were still circulating, but nobody treated them like collectibles. People spent them, tossed them, let them wear down naturally. Which means finding one today in perfect condition is much harder than it should be. That's what creates the value. Not just the coin, but how few survived in clean, untouched condition. So right now, there could be a 1972D sitting in your house, in a jar, a drawer, a box you haven't opened in years. Completely unnoticed. And every day, people spend these coins without ever checking. They hand over something that could be worth thousands, for just 50 cents. Meanwhile, collectors are actively hunting them, pulling them out of circulation, one by one. Which means the longer you wait, the fewer you'll find. So yeah, it might feel strange, stopping to inspect a coin this closely. But that one moment, that one careful look, could turn pocket change into a life-changing discovery. And just when you think this is unbelievable, there's another Kennedy $50 out there, with a rare feature so valuable, one sold for over $10,000. And almost nobody knows the secret detail that makes it worth that much. Top 10, wait, stop right there, because a 2000p Kennedy $50, yes, a modern coin you've probably seen 100 times, could secretly be worth thousands of dollars. It sounds impossible, because this coin looks brand new in the world of coin collecting, nothing old, nothing silver, nothing special at first glance. Just a shiny $50, sitting in drawers, coin jars, and cash registers across America, completely ignored. And that's exactly why people miss it. Because the 2000p Kennedy $50 was made in huge numbers, meaning almost everyone thinks it's just pocket change. But here's where things take a sharp turn. A small number of these coins, especially in ultra-high mint condition, or with rare mint errors, have sold for surprising money, hundreds, even thousands of dollars. Now imagine this, a teenager in Texas going through his dad's old toolbox, just looking for spare screws and change. At the bottom, under dust and receipts, he finds a roll of coins. He starts going through them one by one, bored, expecting nothing. Then he spots a 2000p Kennedy $50. At first, it looks normal, shiny, but slightly dull from handling. He almost moves on, but something makes him stop. When he tilts it under the light, it flashes differently, smoother, cleaner, almost like a mirror hiding under years of dust. That moment changed everything. Because after grading, that coin came back in a high mint state condition, and it sold for over $3,200. From a coin most people would spend without thinking. Now think about that, how many 2000p $50 are sitting in homes right now, completely unnoticed. So here's exactly what you need to do, and don't wait. Grab your 2000p Kennedy $50, right now. First, look at the front, just below Kennedy's neck. You should see a small P, that means it was minted in Philadelphia. Now tilt it under a bright light, slowly. A normal coin will look dull, slightly scratched, uneven in shine. But a valuable one reflects light smoothly, almost like glass, clean, bright, and sharp. Next, focus on Kennedy's face and hair. This is where most people miss everything. On common coins, the details look soft, worn, blended together. But on rare high-grade coins, the hair strands are sharp, the facial lines are crisp, everything looks detailed like it was just struck. Now flip it over, check the eagle. Look at the feathers, the wings, the tiny lines. If they look strong, defined, and untouched, that's a big sign. And here's the hidden twist most people never consider. There are error versions of the 2000p, tiny mint mistakes like doubling, misaligned strikes, or weak impressions in certain areas. They're hard to notice unless you really slow down and look closely. But collectors absolutely pay for them. Because modern era coins are getting harder to find every year. And here's the biggest reason this coin gets overlooked. It's too new in people's minds. When people hear 2000, they think it can't possibly be valuable. So they never check, never look closely, never notice the details. Which means thousands of these coins are still sitting in drawers, jars, and old piggy banks. Completely unexamined. And every single day, people spend them without thinking. They hand over coins that could be worth hundreds or even thousands, for just 50 cents. Meanwhile, collectors are actively searching, grading, and pulling these coins out of circulation. Which means the window to find one in perfect condition is slowly closing. So yeah, it might feel silly, inspecting a modern coin like this. But that one careful look, that 1 second of curiosity, could turn pocket change into a serious payday. And just when you think this is the end of the story, there's another Kennedy $50 out there, even rarer, with a tiny mint error so valuable, one example sold for over $10,000. And almost nobody knows what makes it so special.